From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's kick it off. Another big hour, another big day here from the foxhole of freedom, fighting for you every single day, putting America first is what we do. Let's get rolling here. 3 big things you need to know this hour. Number 1, President Trump threatening to cut off all trade with Spain over his continued refusal to join the rest of Europe in the ongoing campaign against Iran. Number 2, Iranian members of the government, whatever is left behind, went behind closed doors yesterday to vote on a new supreme leader, but before he could even update his X account, death rained from the air, killing them all, according to the Israeli military. And number 3, with the United States involved in a high-stakes war, it seems to me that some inside the Beltway have lost the whole thing in a fog of partisanship. The Department of Homeland Security has been shut down for now the last 2.5 weeks. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem testified on Capitol Hill in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday to answer questions about the administration's immigration enforcement. She called the current shutdown reckless and slammed Democrats for putting the party over the country. Here's part of what she said.
The latest Democrat-led shutdown of DHS is reckless, it's unnecessary, and it undermines the American national security, and it harms the men and women who work at DHS and their families. Despite the House passing a bipartisan, bicameral full-year DHS funding bill, it is Senate Democrats who've chosen not to fund the department and have held this department hostage. As a result, critical national security missions, including border security, immigration enforcement, aviation security, disaster response, cybersecurity, and the protection of critical infrastructure are all being strained. Our ability to provide for a safe and successful World Cup is being hindered as well. More than 100,000 dedicated DHS employees are once again being asked to work without pay for the 3rd time in just 5 months.
Now, the level of Democrat hypocrisy on this issue just blows my mind. This is the party that wants to hand out paychecks to people who aren't working, using our tax dollars, but is unwilling to pay hardworking citizens for jobs that are actually being done. Important jobs protecting the country. And it's a job that the American people voted for. DHS has already removed 3 million illegal aliens, give or take, from our country, and Democrats want to penalize them for doing their jobs. There are obvious national security consequences for this shutdown, but there are also heart-wrenching personal ones. Just a few weeks ago, the administrator of the TSA told Congress that during the last shutdown, agents were having to sleep in their cars to save on gas, sell plasma to pay the bills, and take second jobs. And now, Democrats are putting them through that hell all over again before they even time to get back on their feet. Kristi Noem shared several more stories during her testimony yesterday. Here's an example.
A couple of the stories that I had heard when I spent time with them just in recent days was one individual whose wife needed cancer treatment, $1,200 treatment that he couldn't afford, and had to go and borrow money so she could get her cancer treatment because he wasn't getting his paycheck. Another individual who had 9 children, was raising 2 of his grandchildren as well, that was struggling to pay his bills, took a nighttime job as a welder just to try to keep food on the table for the responsibilities that he had. These people joined TSA because of 9/11, because they want to be a part of keeping people safe in the United States and defending our homeland. Beyond that, FEMA, our ability to fund disaster response is virtually gone. It needs to be refunded. Our FEMA employees are out there doing work every single day, but we have 10,800 individuals that are funded out of the Disaster Relief Fund that could potentially not be there for them and not respond to individuals who need it when they have those terrible storms or devastating crises.
Yeah, there can no longer be any doubt over the fact that the Democrat Party is the America Last Party. They're putting off disaster relief funding for Americans because they're mad that non-American criminals are being sent back to their own countries. Noem shared more than just personal stories, though. She also dropped this bombshell, which should be grounds for throwing Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas directly into jail. Just listen to this.
against our children. The one thing that has been challenging is that under the Biden administration, the government paid sponsors in HHS in order to host these children. And those sponsors, many times, we found instances where they trafficked these children themselves. So under that administration, we not only had children that were in this country as a part of a program, the government was paying individuals that were knowingly trafficking them and abusing them. That has stopped. We have gone through and found these children and put them back with their families when we have the opportunity to do so, and with loved ones that will care for them. I would say that even in one case, we have other countries where we've been working with them to get their children back home, where we've been prevented returning these families back and helping them to be reunified by activist judges. But we will continue to work to ensure that these individuals and these children that were abused by the trafficking over the border have the opportunity to be brought back to their families and to their loved ones going forward.
So the last administration was so hell-bent on flooding our country with illegals, it was paying child traffickers to sponsor those unaccompanied minors, paying them with your money. Just let that sit for a minute. Paying them with your money, traffickers, children. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know that they were paying child traffickers, but they clearly didn't do their due diligence in making sure that the people that they were handing paychecks to were not trafficking these kids into God only knows what. It should make every elected politician in that room sick to their stomach to hear that, regardless of political affiliation. This is selective compassion, friends. Selective compassion. To claim to be compassionate toward illegal aliens but have no problem with the administration that let those kids into the homes of unvetted child traffickers simply because the system was too overwhelmed to stop it. Like Secretary Noem said, this shutdown undermines our national security. It handicaps the Department of Homeland Security from keeping our homeland secure, and I can't imagine a more important time for that objective than right now. During the Biden administration, we know for a fact that at least 2,000 Iranian nationals were released into our country after being arrested at the border by CBP. How many more made it through undetected? The problem is we have no idea, none at all. How many are still here, plotting our downfall on U.S. soil while Iran strikes our military bases and embassies abroad? Joe Kent, the director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center, testified just in December on the staggering number of individuals with jihadist ties that were allowed into the country under the last administration. Here's what he said.
NCTC has been crunching the numbers and going through the sheer volume of known and suspected terrorists that are in the country that came in under the Biden administration. So far, NCTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country, just like the entry of the Afghan terrorists who committed the terrorist attack here just before Thanksgiving, killing one of our National Guard members and wounding another. That Afghan was brought into the country as a group of over 100,000 Afghans who were brought here during...
You can see it's a complete and utter mess. 18,000 that we know of. 18,000. More eye-opening facts after the break. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Yeah, Joe Kent, the director of the U.S. National Counterterrorism Center. The NCTC was working overtime with the FBI and DHS to get these 18,000 people or more off our streets, but that was just in December. And DHS is not even funded currently. So who knows? Who knows how many of those 18,000 are still here? And how many more are hiding that we don't even know about because they were gotaways? We don't have any idea, folks, because of the Biden administration. It is more important than ever the Democrats swallow their pride and fund DHS so that it can protect Americans during this time of war, both abroad and soon here. There will be attacks here, and you know it. So do I. President Trump accurately described the mindset of the people who chant death to America yesterday. Here's what he said.
A big factor in this world and future factor is what we're doing right now with Iran. If we don't stop them, or if we didn't stop them, or if we didn't start, they've been decimated. But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war, and they would have taken out many countries, because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry, they're crazy, they're sick.
And we've seen it enough to know it's no question that these crazy, angry people are here, and they're not afraid. In fact, they've set up demonstrations outside the White House, showing a full embrace of Islamic terrorism while making a martyr of Ali Khamenei. Look at this.
And that means never accept humiliation. And we truly are a people that will never accept the humiliation. From Iran to Palestine, from Palestine to Yemen, we will not back down, we will not give up, and we will kick the boot of imperialism off the neck of our region, inshallah. Settler, settler, go back home. Settler, settler, go back home. The Middle East is ours alone. The Middle East is ours alone. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, it seems to me like DHS could probably check out most of the people in that crowd as a good starting point. What do you think? Now, this can't be a winning strategy for Democrats. It can't. To support flying the Islamic Republic of Iran's flag right outside of our own White House. That alone should lose them the midterms, but they'll continue to spin and make that seem normal and American. It's not. While the rest of the world falls in line with what Trump is doing, including every single Middle Eastern neighbor of Iran, who knows that Trump's position towards Iran is a good thing. Every single one getting in line. Here it is.
Israel's far from alone here. Our Arab friends have faced a serious threat from Iran for years as well, and it's no secret that most Arab leaders have been working closely with the United States and Israel to contain Iran, going back at least to the Obama administration. And I would point out that as soon as Iran targeted these Arab countries, they didn't plead for peace. They didn't ask Donald Trump to stop. They asked Donald Trump for targeting information so they could join in the strikes in Iran. That's what a real coalition looks like. We're all now fighting together to try to finally eliminate the threat that a revolutionary Iran poses to the United States, to our Arab friends, and to Israel.
We have more allies than ever abroad today, but the threat here at home, well, it is very real. Within a day of the strikes against Iran, a man from Senegal, West Africa, opened fire inside a bar in Austin, Texas, killing 3, injuring 14 others. You know this story. He was wearing a sweatshirt with the words "Property of Allah" and had an Iranian flag on the shirt underneath, pretty clear. He frequently posted anti-American, pro-jihadist sentiments on Twitter, encouraging the coming of the Islamic Revolution in America, and yet the FBI says we're still trying to figure out what his motive was. Really? I think I've got it figured out. The FBI needs to move swiftly on such things. Wake up. By the way, this is how he acted on those sentiments. I'm willing to bet there are a lot more just like him, willing to kill Americans at a bar, college kids. The Democrat Party's reckless shutdown exposes their true colors as the America Last cabal, punishing the heroes at DHS for daring to deport the very illegals Americans voted to remove, while radicals wave Iranian flags outside the White House and jihadists like the Austin shooter act on the hatred Biden's open borders invited. TSA agents shouldn't sell plasma or sleeping cars so child traffickers and terror watch list threats can roam free. Numb's testimony laid it bare. This isn't compassion, it's complicity in national suicide. Fund DHS now. End the games. Or own the next attack. America First isn't optional, it's survival. And that's the straight story here. That's the monologue. Meanwhile, quick update from a couple of the primaries in Texas. Jasmine Crockett out. James Tallarico, the state senator, rising star in the Democrat Party, James Tallarico, who, by the way, says God is non-binary. He won easily. And let me tell you, before you write that off, he's concerning. The Democrats have their candidate. The Republicans do not, because Paxton and Cornyn ended up in a runoff. So the sitting Senator John Cornyn got about 43% of the vote. The Attorney General Ken Paxton got about 40% of the vote. They'll go to a runoff now. We'll see who comes out on top there, but it could be significant in who holds the Senate after the midterm elections. We'll keep an eye on that. And in North Carolina, Michael Whatley won the primary to be the senator there for the Republicans. He's going to face Roy Cooper, a two-time, or is it three-time governor of North Carolina? Either way, a well-known brand for the Democrat Party is Roy Cooper. He will also be very hard to beat. Today's program brought to you by Puro Clean's Veterans Initiative, Puro Vet Program. Veterans ready to be your own boss? Join a trusted brand and serve your community in a new way. 855 Puro Vet or purovet.com, supporting veterans by giving you the chance to build your own business and get a break to get there. It's a big deal. purovet.com. Check it out if you're a veteran or know somebody who is. This is the Steve Gruber Show. I'll be right back. All right, I want you to, the tea leaves are a mess right now and hard for me to read. I'm just going to be straight up about that. You've got tepid support for the action in Iran, according to polling from people that I trust. I know that polling is not your thing. It's not mine either, but there are people that I trust that do it better. The support runs about 42 to 47%, not half. We'll see if that changes in the days to come. I think the quicker this is taken care of, the better off it is politically for the midterms for the Republicans, but that's a big hill to climb. Meanwhile, Democrats keep jumping ship. Listen to this one.
A word of advice to the Democrats. You are literally making it impossible for me to stay in your crew. Very difficult, and I'll tell you why. You're acting like you don't understand how we got here. We got here because of Jimmy Carter. We got here because of the JCPOA, which gave this regime $100 billion, allowed for them to enrich. We got here because Biden gave them tens of billions of dollars. You act like you don't know, but you know. You are literally, I don't know what you stand for. You don't stand with the people of Venezuela. You don't stand with the people of Ukraine. You definitely don't stand with the people of Iran. You don't stand with the people of Palestine. I don't know who you stand with. You voted through the big blue bill. You were a part of how we got here with ICE. So it's like so confusing because your entire platform is anti-Trump. And I'm not saying I'm pro-Trump. What I'm saying is, what do you believe in?
What do you believe in? And the answer is they don't know. Many of you have struggled to lose weight. You lose it and gain it back. What if I told you it's not your fault? It's not points. It's not shakes. It's not living at the gym. If it was willpower, you'd already be done. What if I told you your metabolism isn't broken, it's just turned off? Well, I invited you to join me on this journey. I'm going to take my scan today with Missy and the team at My Pure Health. You can join me on this. I'm going to do 20 days and show you how this works. Go to gruberhealth.com and book a free consultation. See if it's a good fit. It's all natural. Eat real food. No exercise needed. Turn your metabolism on naturally and learn the strategies to keep the weight off. Pretty smart, right? gruberhealth.com. Book your free consultation. Look, I'm going to do it with you guys. It's worked for me before. I did this program. I don't have as much to lose because it never came back. But I'm going to give it a shot to help you out, all right? gruberhealth.com. Book a free consultation right now. I'll take a break and be right back. I want to tell you a story. And I want to ask you if it sounds familiar to you. All right? I had a veterinarian, best there was. Will was the best. He was a graduate of Michigan State University, and I would go to him for years. In fact, he was able to diagnose the best dog I ever had was Deuce, big black lab, and he had some issues. and nobody could figure it out. It was being misdiagnosed everywhere, and I took it to Will Schultz. He had it in 30 seconds, right? So I loved this vet. It was so cool that if you took your animal to this vet, over the course of their lifetime, and it came time to cross the Rainbow Bridge, the vet would say, okay, it's free, all right? Because it was just a gesture of a time of sadness. You don't need to fork out your credit card. Okay. And so it was a good relationship. I took all my animals there, dogs, cats, whatever. And it was great. And then a couple of years ago, I realized things had changed. The staff wasn't quite the same, the service level wasn't quite the same, and the prices had exploded. And I'm like, what happened? So I called Will because he had become a personal friend of mine over the years. Oh, I sold it. Who did he sell it to? He sold it to private equity. Now, I don't blame him for it. He got a pile of money. All right, he worked his entire life, built a great staff, and he got rewarded for it in the end. But here's the problem with private equity. They find the things that you love the very most. A veterinarian, your local HVAC dealer, old folks' homes, whatever. The things that you love the most and will take care of the most, your home, your family, your pets, right? Then they make it look as if nothing has changed. When they go in and buy a veterinarian office, or they go in and they buy the local, furnace repair shop, they also buy the name, the likeness, the logo, everything. So it appears that nothing has changed when everything has changed. So you call to get your furnace fixed. Hey, that's going to be $2,000. And you're like, wait a second, man, I've been coming to you for years. That's too much. So you call the next place down the line. It's $2,000, because what happens is private equity goes in and buys not just that veterinary office, they buy all the veterinarian offices in a region, or all the HVAC dealerships in a region, or all of any particular business in a region. And they keep the name, the likeness. And I know all this because of the conversation I just had with Tiffany Ciance on my brand new podcast, Forgotten America. It is eye-opening. It's frightening, actually. Because not only do they jack up the prices, they say, hey, you can finance if you'd like. You know why? Because they own the finance company too. Look, I'm a big believer in the free market, but when you basically create regional monopolies and jack up the prices, it hurts real people. It's really important. I want you to hear just a little bit of a clip from Tiffany Ciance from Forgotten America. Here she is.
Everything that we would mortgage our house to keep paying for, they were going to buy. But they weren't going to buy it and say that they owned it. Instead, they created a name, image, likeness scheme that made the owners that looked like it was a small business for years turn over their name, image, and likeness for 20 years so that they could keep marketing themselves as a mom and pop while they were acquiring every business in the region and creating a micro monopoly.
A micro monopoly. Private equity in your backyard. Now look around and say to yourself, hey, I've seen that. Because you have. It's happening all over the country with all kinds of different businesses. And again, I don't blame the business owner. They got rewarded for their hard work for creating a business, and then somebody showed up with a check that they said, oh, I can't look the other way from that. And they retired or went and did something else. You can see Forgotten America. You can hear Forgotten America on YouTube. Go to the Steve Gruber channel there. The QR code is right there on your screen. Become a subscriber. Trust me, this is a conversation you want to hear. I mean, it is telling, to say the least. Tiffany Ciance has been in lawsuits back and forth. One of the most telling conversations, adventure parks. She tells the story of a 6-year-old girl that was killed driving a go-kart at an adventure park. You see, when you sign in and you say, yeah, I'm here, and you sign in, you're signing away all your rights. You're signing away pretty much all your rights. You're agreeing to arbitration. You can't sue them if something bad happens. That 6-year-old, not strapped in properly to a go-kart, died at her sister's birthday party. Another one of the most frightening parts of this conversation, zip lines. Zip lines. 48 different people have fallen from zip lines from one company. She doesn't name them for fear of lawsuits. But the consumer, you going into this adventure park, have no idea because it's all hidden. Because when you sign that little thing and say you can't sue and you don't realize it, you're just getting a ticket to go have fun for the day with you and your kids or grandkids. You're also signing a non-disclosure agreement. You can't sue and you can't talk about it. So the next person in line doesn't know that the little kid fell from a zip line 35 feet to the concrete and had an internal decapitation. You don't even know that happened. because you signed away your rights just to go have fun for the day. Pretty frightening, isn't it? Pretty frightening to know that private equity is operating freely, these micro monopolies in different places. And they do it all in the interest of putting more money on the bottom line. Look, again, I'm a free market capitalist individual. I do not like monopolies. I don't like it when it comes to paying for the electricity here in the studio or in my house. I don't like it on natural gas because basically where I live, it's all a monopoly. Most states have one electric company. I don't like that. That's not the same thing, but I don't like monopolies. And I don't like monopolies when I need my furnace repaired, or my dog needs to get shots, or my kid wants to go to the water park. I don't like monopolies there, I'll tell you that. And I think this is something we need to talk about. Because as a consumer, wouldn't you like to know that Ma and Pa Heating and Air is no longer Ma and Pa? It's actually somebody else. Wouldn't you like to know that an adventure park has a series of serious incidents that involved injury and sometimes death? Wouldn't you like to know that before you sign on the dotted line? Be kind of important to know, wouldn't it? It'd be kind of really important for you to know because you might make different choices. You might choose to not take your grandkids out to that adventure park for the day because they've had too many incidents, dangerous incidents. You might find yourself a new heating and air company because you realize that Ma and Pa Smith aren't there anymore. And you've supported them for years, but they sold out and they're on a beach somewhere sipping drinks with little paper umbrellas in them. So you want to go somewhere else now and find a better deal. There are still independent dealers out there in many places. Some don't sell out. And maybe the first question you ask when you call is this: are you owned by private equity, or are you a truly independent business? Now, maybe they'll tell you, maybe they won't. That's just advice from me. Again, go to Steve Gruber on YouTube. This was so mind-blowing for me and Ivy, because it's me and Ivy that do this podcast. Mind-blowing for us to hear all of that. And you should hear it too, because that way you can make educated decisions about who you're supporting with your hard-earned money. And maybe you don't want to support these people that don't seem to care much about your well-being. They just want to jack up the price. Oh, and by the way, back to the veterinary office. Yeah, that Rainbow Bridge thing, it's not free anymore. They charge full price. And when I called about my dog that died last year at the age of 16 and a half, yeah, I said, can I get some pain medication? She's 16 and a half. She's going to make it a couple more weeks. Oh, you need to come in for a complete evaluation. You need to get immunization. Watch the podcast, Forgotten America, on YouTube with me and Ivy. Eye-opener this week. It's a big deal. I'll be right back. see the calendars moving from February to March. We're dreaming about spring, spring flowers, sun, warmer weather, spring cleaning. And over the last few years, spring cleanses for your body have become a popular spring cleaning for your house and yard. What about a spring cleanse? Let's bring in Dr. Kelly Victory from the Wellness Company to discuss this. She's the Chief of Disaster and Emergency Medicine at TWC. Kelly, nice to see you.
Nice to be back as always.
All right, so spring cleaning for the yard. What about spring cleaning for me and everybody else?
Well, I am actually a proponent of a number of cleanses, as they were, generally meaning fasts of some sort, anywhere from a single-day fast to 2 or 3 day fasts to get you back on the right track. Another thing that's been very popular recently has been an anti-parasite cleanse. We're starting to realize, I think more and more, Steve, that more Americans might be infected with parasites than we previously thought. Some of these very vague complaints that people have, brain fog, easy fatigability, muscle aches, joint aches, might in fact be related to parasitic disease. This could be because of an increase in the number of people who are eating raw or undercooked food, whether it's sushi or other things, changes in immigration, changes in travel. We don't really know. But what we are finding is that a large number of people do seem to have resolution of some of these very vague symptoms by taking a course of an anti-parasitic medication like ivermectin. The great thing about medicines like ivermectin, in that in particular, is that it has a very, very good safety profile. It's been around for decades and decades, FDA approved for use in humans, despite what the FDA wanted to tell you back in the COVID era. It's a very well tolerated drug and has great application against not only parasites, but it's also a very good anti-inflammatory agent, antiviral agent. So many people have had some good relief of these vague symptoms by taking a course of an anti-parasitic.
But I don't hear Big Pharma talk about that, or generally the doctor at the doctor's office. I'm going to be a little jaded here, doctor, I admit it. It's because ivermectin's cheap, easy to get, time-tested. I mean, there's no money to be made by issuing people ivermectin, is there?
Exactly right. And that's why it was derided during COVID, because we knew that it was a very effective treatment for COVID infection. And the people who received it early on got over the COVID virus with very, very rare exception. Again, they have tried to make it sound as if ivermectin is a medication used only in the veterinary world, where it certainly does have application, but it's been FDA approved for use in humans, including in the topical form. Topical ivermectin has been FDA approved for the treatment of rosacea and other skin conditions, including psoriasis and eczema, again, because of its anti-inflammatory properties. So it's very safe, very effective, has multiple modes of action, not only as an anti-parasitic, but as an antiviral and as an anti-inflammatory. So it's being used both orally and topically for a broad range of symptoms. We have a couple of different formulations of it, both oral and topical.
Sure.
And again, many people get relief from these really vague symptoms. There aren't good tests for some of these things, Steve. And so I think there's not a good test for parasites. And so taking a quick course of one of these medications makes reasonable sense.
Yeah, anybody that listens to this program knows that I'm a believer in ivermectin, because I was really sick with COVID and on my way to being sicker when I demanded from my doctor to get a prescription. She fought me on it, gave in. A few hours later, I went down, had to drive an hour to find it at that point during the COVID nonsense, frankly. I took it midday. By that evening, I was a different human being. Clearly, it knocked it right out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that
knocked
is a
it
story
out.
that we hear over and over and over again. People turned around within 8 to 24 hours. People totally turned around their course of COVID infection. And it's a crime, truly a crime, that so many people were denied access to that life-saving medication.
Well, let's talk about the Parasite Cleanse from the Wellness Company. It's ivermectin and mebendazole. It's a 21-day course. I did it last year. How often should I do it?
I think probably once a year is reasonable. Again, it's a very, very safe combination. It's been used for decades. Ivermectin is taken by hundreds of millions of people every year around the globe because of its application against river blindness and parasites. Certainly, it is responsible for why so many people in other countries did not die from COVID infection. So I think doing it once a year, like your spring cleaning, makes sense.
You know, one other thing about the ivermectin that comes from the wellness company, it's made here. It's not imported. It's American-made ivermectin. I think that, that's really important because too many of our supply chains, especially for pharmaceuticals, run back to China. In this case, it does not. I think that's important. What do you say?
Really important point, Steve. Our over-reliance on China for pharmaceuticals has long been one of our greatest national security threats. Not only our pharmaceuticals, but their active ingredients are largely have been purchased from China and to a lesser extent India. The ivermectin that we sell at the wellness company is manufactured right here in the United States, which is a critical differentiator. We can absolutely attest to its purity. It's held to the highest standards of manufacturing, and you certainly cannot say that about pharmaceuticals that are being bought and imported from China.
Very true. Dr. Kelly Victory, always a good conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Really appreciate it. All right, if you're interested in this Parasite Cleanse or any of the other great products from the wellness company, go to twc.health/Gruber right now. Look, we did this last year, Ivy and I did. We felt great afterwards. Did it knock out parasites? All I can tell you is I felt great when it was over. That's for sure. And by the way, ivermectin has also shown promise treating cancer patients. It's one of these drugs you need to look at when they say go off label. It's pretty important. That's why Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Kelly Victory, the other great folks at the Wellness Company put this together. Ivermectin, mebendazole, a great combination for a parasite cleanse. Again, you can find out more. twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber, plus all the other great products that are there. I'll take a break and be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show. Giving you all the headlines you need to have. And here's one that I just saw. I guess I missed it earlier, but here it is, hot off the printer. I mean, it is hot. It's warm. I got a printer right here. Just in case of emergency, Ivy can send me information. Anthony can send me information. Here's a breaking story. Well, here's one for you. Dan Crenshaw is out. The four-term congressman from Texas lost his primary battle yesterday to a state lawmaker. Crenshaw long been questioned by supporters of Donald Trump as to whether or not he was on board with Donald Trump and the things that he does. Crenshaw lost his Republican primary battle to Steve Toth, a state rep and businessman, following years of turmoil between Crenshaw and the MAGA faction of the party, for sure. The second congressional district primary ended Tuesday with Toth beating Crenshaw, and it drew a sharp line within the Republican Party, according to Fox News here. Pretty remarkable. Crenshaw is out. He did get endorsed by Jim Jordan of Ohio, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, the National Border Patrol Council, and the National Rifle Association, among others. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise told the media ahead of the primary he supported Crenshaw and that he pulls it out. Well, he did not. So there is a change. Tell me what you think of that. Put it in an email to me, stevegruber.com. Or you can go watch me live on YouTube or Getter or X. Post a comment there. We're in all the social media places. In fact, why don't you do me a favor? We talked about the podcast, Forgotten America, but become a follower on all the social media platforms. I encourage you to do that. Look, we're everywhere. And I need you to become a supporter. Not just a watcher, but hey, that way you can interact. There are great conversations every morning in Getter, YouTube, and you can join a group of like-minded individuals and sometimes a troll or two just for sport. Yeah, a troll or two just for sport. Anyhow, let's see here. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about a former Air Force pilot that was training Chinese military pilots. You probably heard about that. Kicked out for treason, for sabotaging the American government. We'll talk about that and so much more. I'll get you the latest from the primaries yesterday and the war in Iran. No big headlines from there yet today, and that's good news. This is the Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board as we roll through this. Fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom every single day. We want America to win. We want America to win. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, not a win. Gas prices on the rise with the ongoing battles in Iran playing out and the Strait of Hormuz being avoided by oil takers and cargo ships, causing a sharp price hike at the pump. You've probably noticed. Number two, U.S. consulate in Dubai hit by an Iranian drone. Fortunately, nobody killed there. No injuries either. But it demonstrates Iran is not out of options to inflict damage on other countries, including our own. And number three, Secretary of State Marco Rubio yesterday. I watched this. This was remarkable. Marco Rubio stepped up, kind of an impromptu press gaggle, if you will, and he took time to explain again and again and again the U.S. objectives in Iran. The media was slow on the uptake, and this is important because you continue to hear members of the media and members of the Democrat Party say, well, Trump has no plan. He has no idea what he's doing. This is just random and haphazard. None of that is true. You don't have to like what we're doing. Okay, and I understand the argument against. I do. No more wars. Let's not get involved in the Middle East. Okay, I understand your argument. I don't agree with it because I think Iran has been a threat to the entire planet for 47 years for a whole variety of well-documented reasons. But it's okay. We don't have to agree. We're Americans. We can have a conversation about it. Here's what I believe and why, and here's what you believe and why, and let's move forward. But to suggest this was some haphazard operation and we're doing Israel's bidding, stop it. I don't subscribe to that point of view, and clearly neither does the Secretary of State. He makes it clear we are doing our own bidding, no one else's. Listen.
Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked a question.
No, were you the one that? Because somebody asked me a question yesterday. Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that. You that follow up, and I said no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program. That Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
All right, so there I am playing the whole clip. Again, Rubio explaining in detail. They still don't get it. He had to continue to elaborate, to flesh out, to explain. This went on for a while. Here's more.
The bottom line is this. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put American troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will always do. He will always put the safety and security of our men and women in uniform and of all Americans before anything else. He's always going to do that, and that's what he did here. In addition to that, I would argue that this threat from Iran, they are hiding behind these missiles and hiding behind these drones. They wanted to reach a point where you couldn't touch them, and then they could do whatever the hell they wanted with their nuclear program. And there is no way in the world that this terroristic regime was going to get nuclear weapons, not under Donald Trump's watch.
So the U.S.
You know, the fact of the matter is, Iran, if you look at the buildup of the ballistic missiles, they're on their way to having more than 10,000 ballistic missiles. And so what Rubio's explaining there is they were going to create this shield so they could hold the area hostage while they went ahead and built nukes. Right? But the press still didn't get it. no matter how clear he could be. Here's more.
Weekend. Are you saying it had to happen this weekend because of that Israeli action?
No, this weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat. And we wanted this to have maximum success. We want this operation to be successful at achieving its objectives. I'll repeat the objectives. The president laid them out yesterday. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It cannot have, and therefore it cannot have the things it was hiding behind to have a nuclear weapons program. What are those things? Number one, we are going to destroy their missiles and their missile launchers. We are going to destroy their capability to make these missiles and these launchers, and we are going to destroy their Navy. Those are the objectives, and this weekend, acting at this time, gave us the highest probability of success in achieving those objectives, and as the Department of War will brief you, we are on or ahead of schedule to do that.
It's remarkable. He answers the questions over and over and over again. The United States acted when it acted because of a credible threat that Iran was going to strike first. Now, you can debate that, like I said. Maybe you agree with that. Maybe you doubt that. Maybe you question that. But I encourage you, question everything. And not just on this topic, but on all topics. Demand facts and truth and supporting evidence. But Rubio sat there in that gaggle answering one question after another, and they were all the same question. Here's the last one. Listen again.
The president acted on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success. And that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their ability to sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. Those objectives are going to be met. We're well on our way to meeting them. It will not be easy. There will be a price to pay for it, but that is a much lower price to pay than having a nuclear-armed Iran.
Or an Iran that can hit all of our bases all over the Middle East and all the way into Europe. Those ballistic missiles have a range of better than 2,000 miles. John Fetterman, by the way, the one Democrat standing up and telling the truth and doing the right thing. I don't see too many of them, but at least John Fetterman's out there. Remarkable, isn't it? Who would have thought that he'd be the guy? Listen to what he says.
And it's more just now because of that. What this happens, you don't have to agree on everything, but it's like, yes, I'm the only Democrat because I'm not afraid of my base to just say, you know what, this was overall a good thing. You don't have to agree on everything, so I'm going to be honest. So, like, why can't you just acknowledge that one of the most evil people on the face of the earth was erased? That's a good thing.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Why can't you just say that? Him being gone is a good thing. Yeah, and I admit it. I was wrong about John Fetterman. You know, if there are more Democrats like him, and I don't agree with him. He's a Democrat on a lot of issues. I don't agree with him. But look, he's willing to tell you where he stands and why. He doesn't act strictly on emotion. He considers what's in front of him. Here's a guy with a TBI that's more capable of digesting facts and information and having a rational answer than pretty much anybody else in the Democrat Party. Yeah, he's not going to support the War Powers Resolution coming this week if it shows up. I haven't seen it yet. I thought we'd see it by now, but here we are Wednesday. Anyhow, I'll take a break and be back after this. Now, in case you missed it, and look, in this news cycle, you probably could miss a number of things, but in case you missed it, there was a former Air Force pilot that was arrested because he was training Chinese military pilots to fly our planes. It's unbelievable. You have an Air Force pilot training the Chinese to fly our planes. The Chinese infiltration of this country is broad-based. We've talked on this program about them interfering in elections. I've talked to them about them interfering and helping people like the nation of Iran to stock up on military equipment. Equipment then gets dispersed who knows where, sometimes to Ukraine, to the Russians. Michael Lucci is the founder and CEO of State Armor. He's been digging into this as well. Michael, good morning.
Morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm well. Let's talk about this pilot first. I mean, this is pretty revealing as to how deep and how wide the Chinese influence is. Look, they're everywhere in our country. They're in our universities, 700,000. This is something I strongly disagree with the president on. I think that those students should not be here taking up residence in America, being at our top-rated universities, and then sharing all that information, whatever they learn, with Beijing. This pilot, though, what is your take on this?
He's basically a traitor if the allegations are true. So this is a pilot who trained, obviously he was trained by the United States, and then he became a training pilot for the F-35 when he was in the American Armed Services. He went over to China at the end of 2023, seems to have come back at the beginning of 2026. And in those 2+ years that he was over there, he was working with China's military on understanding American air platforms, pilots on the same. So that's our most advanced air platform, our F-35 for certain missions, F-22 for others. And he was training American airmen on those platforms. So this violates Export Control Act. It violates a number of federal laws. But I think that the easiest way to talk about it is just to consider it some form of traitorism or treason against the United States. This was pretty clearly premeditated if the allegations are true. He coordinated with a Chinese national who had previously served time in prison in the United States of America for stealing intellectual property from a defense contractor. So, you know, maybe that's Boeing, maybe that's Raytheon. It's probably the same air platforms that this pilot was training them on over there that they were stealing back in 2015, 2016.
Espionage at the highest levels, clearly. And look, another way that China is getting into all areas of American society, government, higher learning, all of it, is by using the 14th Amendment. They send pregnant women to America, and because the 14th Amendment is misread, those children are born here, they're American citizens, and then they go back to China. We're facing more than 1 million Chinese men who are going to come back to this country as citizens over the next few years. They can infiltrate the military, government, universities. I mean, this is the Chinese plan, part of it, isn't it?
Yes, they have expansive plans for infiltration. Now, you know, there are Chinese nationals who just want to have a kid in the United States because they want to have that access for their kid. Chinese nationals, even those in the Chinese Communist Party, don't trust China. But obviously, this is a massive security threat where we're having as many as 50,000, Chinese babies born on some Pacific islands that gives them per year, born on some Pacific islands that gives them American citizenship. Happens in California as well. Billionaires in the Chinese Communist Party are having more than 100 children through surrogacy in the United States. So these kids spend, 10 minutes in the United States, they get their citizenship card, and then they go back to communist China, and they're raised there their whole life. So they have no connection at all to the United States other than this scam on the front end. I will note that the state of Florida, 2 lawmakers there who are working on a lot of issues about the Chinese Communist Party are looking to pass a state law in the next week to cut off this surrogacy scam as it relates to the Chinese Communist Party. Of course, that would be only for the state of Florida.
It should be a policy nationally. In fact, I hope the Supreme Court can get this right, because the abuse of the 14th Amendment extends beyond China. But this is just another example of the threat. What about China's connection to Iran? Look, China has taken 2 serious blows. They lost Venezuelan oil, and now Iranian oil is in question. That's 20 to 25% of their oil supply that they've been getting for dirt cheap, and that has certainly propped up their economy for the last many years. I mean, if we could buy oil at half price, we'd be going great guns here in America. I mean, it's two big, devastating blows to China, isn't it?
It's a devastating blow on multiple levels. One, they do buy that sanctioned oil $10 or so below market prices. Two, those are regimes that China helped prop up, obviously in the Americas with Venezuela, Middle East with Iran, that forced the United States to stay, active, ready, and involved in those arenas, perhaps more than we would like to. We'd like to be able to shift some of that over to the Pacific. Three, I mean, this is, China had a $400 billion 25-year deal with Iran that began just a few years ago. So they're probably not going to see the fruition of that deal. And so you see the United States in the Panama Canal, Greenland, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, really removing from the table some of communist China's pieces in this geopolitical conflict between between our two countries.
Yeah.
And we're doing it at a time when China's not ready and able to respond. So I think that that's basically what Trump's doing, is he's fast forwarding through conflicts that might occur in a more costly manner for the United States. If China invades Taiwan, we're going to have problems in all these other arenas. He's trying to take those problems off the map now. Of course, at the same time, these are terrorist regimes that destroy their own countries, kill millions of their own people, suppress rights for decades upon decades. And so there's that moral justification to it as well.
Michael Lucci, really appreciate you being here. You come back anytime. These are conversations that have to be held out in the open so people understand. China does not view war as binary the way America does. We believe either we're at war or we're not. The fact of the matter is China's been at war with America for decades. We just haven't figured it out. At least some people haven't. Michael, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciated. And I appreciate you being here as well on all the platforms, X, YouTube, Facebook. Nice to see you this morning. I'll be right back after this. All right, well, if you missed it yesterday, Donald Trump says he's going to cut off all trade with Spain. Now, I don't know if that comes to pass, but he is angry. You see, Spain has not allowed the United States to use its military bases in that nation in the ongoing war with Iran. The UK did the same thing at the beginning here a few days ago, saying we couldn't use Diego Garcia or other bases. They have since capitulated, as have Germany and France. But look, these are the people that Donald Trump said, look, we'll come to their defense, but I don't know if they'll come to ours. I think that's a fair question today. Would the NATO alliance come to the defense of the United States, as promised in Article 5? I don't really know. But when you watch these things play out, you have to wonder. Anyhow, the United States ran a $4.8 billion trade surplus with Spain in 2025. The president claimed Spain was the only NATO country not paying 5%. The United States maintains access to Naval Station Rota and the Moran Air Base under a longstanding defense cooperation agreement with Spain, but those bases, according to Spain, are not available to us at this time. We'll see how this plays out, but obviously the president not impressed with that decision. Did you know that American homeowners nationwide have over $32 trillion in equity? And cyber criminals target it with a growing scam the FBI calls house stealing. House alarms, doorbell cameras, and deadbolts, they don't work against these thieves because they're not after your stuff. They're after the equity you've built up by paying your mortgage over the last many years. If your title is not being monitored, scammers can transfer the title of your home into their name using documents they filed down to the county. And then they can take loans against your property. They can even sell it behind your back. And the worst part is you don't even know it until those dunning notices show up in your mailbox. But by then, the damage is done. The best way to protect your equity is with triple lock protection from our friends at Home Title Lock. Triple lock protection, 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, and God forbid, if the worst happens, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. You can check on your home's title today and make sure you're not a victim already. Use the promo code Gruber at HometitleLock.com. HometitleLock.com, you'll get a 14-day free trial of the service. HometitleLock.com, use the promo code Gruber. You'll be able to sleep better tonight when you do. I'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Two of the big headlines from yesterday's primary votes in Texas. Jasmine Crockett is out. Dan Crenshaw is out. They both lost their primary races. But does it change anything? And when I say that, I mean, does it change anything on the path we're on? Because it seems that America has pushed back on all this radical leftism, but yet here we are still seeming to veer to the left, right? Radical policies, gender transitioning, illegal aliens by the millions, appeasing China. Every white person is a racist at birth. Come on. My next guest, John Tillman, is the CEO of the American Culture Project and the founder and CEO of the Hall of Giants. He also has a brand new book, The Political Vice, How the Radical Left Controls America and the Path to Regaining Our Liberty. John, thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Steve, and forgive the hotel room studio.
Yeah, well, you know, we got to travel. You're on a book tour. I get it. Look, transgenderism, for example, had its peak in 2023, according to all the numbers. Detransitioners are getting a lot more airtime. They got none before. But people like Chloe Cole are out there out front now saying, look, they destroyed my life based on a 1-hour meeting with a counselor, all right? And so some of these really radical ideas are being pushed back against, and yet it still feels like we're sliding left. Why?
We're sliding left. It feels like we're sliding left. And in some ways, we still are sliding left because the left still controls the commanding heights of American culture. And in particular, as you know, Andrew Breitbart made famous the phrase, politics is downstream of culture, which is true. But what the left has long understood is that you have to be at the headwaters of that river in order to help shape the beliefs and views of the people. And they have control of the way people understand and come to learn their belief systems. What's been happening over the last 10 plus years is the conservative right, from an investment point of view, has been investing in media and entertainment and other avenues to reach the American people and start to compete for mind share. And that is why you've seen the pushback that you're talking about. And Chloe, who is just an amazing hero in her telling her story. So what has to happen is...
Hold on one second, because, yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on that. When it comes to media and so forth, conservatives do not spend the money anywhere near the rate of people like Soros and Singham. Not even close. I talk to these people. I say, hey, you want to invest in what we're doing here? Well, what's my return on investment? Democrats give it like it's tithing because politics is their religion. Changing our culture, destroying America is their theology. And those conservatives on the other side, many of which want cheap labor and different things, they kind of hedge their bets all the time. It's not an even playing field, not in my opinion. What do you say?
I totally agree with that. I was certainly not saying that there is a level playing field in terms of the amount of money that we're investing in these areas. What I'm saying is we used to invest zero, and we started investing, and we do have material capacity so that we can break through in certain areas, as we've seen. The conservative media infrastructure of today, the better messaging infrastructure of today versus when I got involved in the movement 20 years ago, it's night and day, but it is nowhere near sufficient. In fact, that is part of what I wrote in the book. The Political Vice is a chapter dedicated to the investors of the conservative movement who believe in liberty, who believe in America as a noble endeavor, that the founding was noble, is that we have to invest even more. And the point I was making is that we need to invest at the headwaters. We have to understand that investing at the election time is necessary, but you're going to lose way more than you should, which is one of the points of the book, unless you start investing at the headwaters across the entire spectrum of culture and where ideas are shaped. So I think we actually have agreement.
We have to find ways to push back, that's for sure. But here we are. And this is also a change to me. Throughout my lifetime, America has engaged in a variety of wars, you know, and set all the political nonsense aside. But one thing that was always true, or pretty much always true, we supported the people fighting the war. You know, maybe not so much in Vietnam, you know, veterans got spit on, but after that, we kind of looked in the mirror and said, what are we doing? But this engagement with Iran shows that divide again. People not supporting American efforts, criticizing the president, attacking him, while American men and women in uniform are facing the real threat of death out there. It's abnormal to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love talking about this point because it really reveals what has happened to the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is unrecognizable. You used to have an American consensus that everybody would come together, regardless of the reason for the war, would come together. The hostility to the military during the Vietnam era is what was the anomaly. And unfortunately, we're now returning to that kind of anomaly because the Democrat left that is so radicalized thinks it's in their political interest to vilify this effort. And it's just outrageous. Think about all the wars. Is there any better enemy for the United States than Iran? Iran has been waging war against America directly and through proxies for 47 years. They have stated publicly they want to destroy us and destroy Israel, both in terms of our nations and our people. I always believe when someone says things like this, you believe them and you respond accordingly. And I'm certainly no advocate of war. I was very, prior to this incursion, I certainly was not advocating for it. But once it started and you kind of see where we're at, and the indiscriminate nature of war as waged by the Iranians, what do you think they would be doing when they had full missile capacity and nuclear capacity? I think they would definitely wipe Israel off the map and threaten the West. So it's amazing to me, Steve,
not to mention all the American bases that would be within striking distance. And I'm not talking nuclear weapons. I'm talking about ballistic missiles. They are on their way to having more than 10,000 ballistic missiles. They're ramping up so fast that they would have had, and Marco Rubio explained this over and over again to the press yesterday, they were just unable to hear him, apparently. He said, look, once they get that shield built, then they can go ahead and build nuclear weapons because it's going to be very difficult to get in there and do anything about it, right? And they would attack our bases in UAE and Qatar and in Saudi Arabia and elsewhere. Go on.
They were going to cross that line and have the threshold. But what I'm hoping, Steve, going back to World War II, we learned so much about rocketry from the Germans who came to our side after World War II. I'm hoping we can learn how to have a faster production line of missiles because they're really building them rapidly, way more rapidly than American manufacturers. So we should maybe learn something from that.
Yeah, I agree, John. They were building missiles. I don't know what they're building now. They got together to pick a new leader yesterday, and well, that didn't work out so well. They're going to find somebody who's actually alive to lead the country, I believe. John Tillman, the book, Political Vice: How the Radical Left Controls America and the Path to Regaining Our Liberty. John, I really appreciate you being here. I look forward to reading this book. I'll give you the last word.
Well, obviously, people can buy it anywhere they sell books, Amazon and elsewhere. And I think the most important thing about the book and with the stage we're at is people who believe in the founding, the nobility of the founding, free enterprise and capitalism. It is time for everybody to get engaged and have your voice be heard. Yeah. Now more than ever.
Speak up and be heard. I agree with that. John Tillman, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve.
Speak up and be heard. Yeah, no question about that. Speak up and be heard. I agree with that sentiment completely. Now is not a time to be shy. Do not be a shrinking violet today. Call your congressmen. Call your senators. Call people out. Don't be afraid to speak truth. Do not be afraid to speak truth. And question everything you see on social media. Don't just say, oh, I saw this. The one good thing about AI, you can take and copy the link, put it into an AI and say, is this true? And I see things every day. I do this every day. 9 out of 10 times, no, it's false. So be careful what you read and what you listen to. You can trust me, but after that, all bets are off. I'll take a break. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Welcome back to the program. We've seen it, we've heard it, and we've seen people try to deny it. But the rate of transgender violence in America, in Canada, in the Western world is undeniable. And yet people try to. Joining me is Dr. John Lott. He knows about studying statistics and bringing us the truth. Doctor, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's great to talk to you again.
And you say quite clearly the rate of transgender violence is much worse than media accounts. You posted that on X. Give us the numbers.
Right. Well, you've had a lot of media on this, these fact checkers from the New York Times to PolitiFact to the Associated Press, and they make basic statistical errors. They go and they say, well, maybe, transgenders, shooters may only make up 10% of these attacks, which is a small percentage of the total. But what they don't do is adjust for transgenders' share of the population. If transgenders are less than 1%, and they make up 10% of the shooters, they're very disproportionately engaging in these types of attacks. But for some reason, no one in the media goes and adjusts for the share of the population that are transgender individuals. And there are other issues that they do too. And it's kind of what they include as the comparison group. A lot of them use data from a gun control group called the Gun Violence Archive. And about 85% of their active shooting cases are gang fights over drug turf. That's very different. What causes gangs to go and fight over each other over drug turf is not the same as motivating people who engage in mass public shootings, where they go to a place with the whole purpose of simply trying to kill as many innocent people as possible in order to get attention. And most of the rest of their cases are robberies. I'm not saying that gang fights over drug turf or robberies aren't important. It's just the causes and solutions for those are very different. And to go and mix those together with mass public shootings, I think is misleading and makes it appear like it's a smaller percentage than it is. I use the FBI's definition of active shooting cases, which they define an active shooting attack as a gun fired in public, not part of some other type of crime like a gang fight over drug turf or a robbery. Anything from one person being shot at and missed all the way up to a mass public shooting. And when you do that in 2024, transgenders' share was 12 times their share of the population, at least, using the highest poll estimates that I could find there. So there's something disproportionate going on.
Clearly. And so when you look at this, and you could look at the school shooting in Canada, the attack on the Catholic school and service in Nashville, more recently the shooting at an ice rink, I believe it was in Rhode Island, there's a common thread here. And the common thread from where I stand, John, and everybody can have their opinion, but it's mental illness. These people are compromised mentally, and instead of dealing with that, they're coddled, they're told that they can be anything they want. And when there's pushback, like there was in Rhode Island, the stories are that the family rejected the man's transition, if you will, to become a woman, rejected it for 7 years, and he finally came to the ice rink, killed his ex-wife, killed one of his children and others. The common thread to me is a mental issue. What am I missing?
Well, I'll say this much. If you look at mass public shooters, overwhelmingly they're suicidal. And that seems to be the case for these transgender shooters also. I mean, transgender individuals want to commit suicide at very high rates compared to the general population. So it's not particularly surprising to me that they're disproportionately represented among mass public shooters. And it's not a surprise.
Yeah. So what is the solution then? How do we intervene? I mean, look at this. Rhode Island, here, and we're going to touch on another hot button issue, and that's red flag laws. Rhode Island has very strong red flag laws pushed by the left, anti-gun factions on the left, and it failed. It didn't do what it's designed to do. It probably disarmed some law-abiding citizens, but it didn't prevent this tragedy, did it?
Well, I mean, if you look at these mass public shootings by transgender, whether it be the Nashville school shooting or the Minneapolis school shooting last year, or the transgender one in Rhode Island, or the one in Canada, one common feature about all those is that they occurred in gun-free zones, places where guns were banned. And at least for two of those, for the Nashville school shooter and the Minneapolis school shooters, they explicitly in their diary and manifesto explain why they picked the target that they did. They had learned from other mass murderers that if they would be more successful if they went to a place where victims were defenseless. And if you read the manifesto for the Minneapolis attacker, what you find is that not only did he pick the school because schools in Minnesota ban guns there, but he picked the time of day because he didn't want to do it in the morning when parents were dropping off kids at school or in the afternoon when they're picking them up, because he was worried that one of the parents might have a permanent concealed handgun and might use it to go and stop him. So these guys may be crazy in some sense, but they're not stupid. You know, I have to say one of my biggest pet peeves in the media is that despite time after time, these mass murderers explicitly explaining why they pick the targets that they do, the media just refuses to go and ever cover that. They just never cover the fact that these mass murderers say they want to go to a place where guns are banned because they'll be able to go and kill more people.
That's right.
And get more media attention.
Yeah. Dr. John Lott, I got to leave it right there. You're exactly right. The media doesn't tell the truth in large part, but we do here. And we appreciate you bringing the facts to us and sharing it with our audience. Dr. John Lott, everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it. The facts are irrefutable here. 10% of the mass shootings, less than 1% of the population. You figure it out. We'll take a break here. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's check in on sports now with my good friend Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 10 games in the NBA last night. Winners included Cleveland, New York, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City. In men's college basketball, 19th-ranked Miami of Ohio moved to 30-0 on the season with a 74-72 home win over Toledo. The Redhawks are the lone unbeaten team in Division I men's basketball. Other top 25 winners included 5th-ranked Florida and 11th-ranked Illinois, but 9th-ranked Nebraska and 14th-ranked Kansas were upset. In the NHL last night, there were 11 games. Winners included Boston, New Jersey, Dallas, and Edmonton. Only 5 Major League Baseball spring training games yesterday. Winners were Tampa Bay, San Diego, the LA Angels, and the LA Dodgers. And the Arizona Cardinals have informed former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Kyler Murray that they will release him next week. He was the team's #1 draft pick 7 years ago. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right. Greatly appreciate it, Brock. Thank you for that. Word out of Iran, 2 things, number one, just in the last few minutes here. Number one, it seems that Iran fired missiles at Turkey. Odd thing to do, but the missiles were removed from being any threat. They were shot down by NATO defense batteries. Turkey reminding all combatants that they will defend their country and their airspace as well. They should. Meanwhile, there are some reports coming out that Mojtaba Khamenei, likely to be the new supreme leader of Iran, he is the son of the Ayatollah, killed Saturday by Israeli strikes. His successor will be just the 3rd supreme leader since the 1979 Islamic revolutions. Ayatollah Khomeini was first, Ayatollah Khamenei next, and maybe another Ayatollah Khamenei. The younger Khamenei is 56 and has long been seen as a shadow power in Iran, rarely seen in public, but an influential hardline figure behind the scenes in terms of domestic and international policy and strategy. If he is indeed selected to replace his father, it'd be seen as a major blow to reformers inside the country as well as the Iranian opposition efforts from the outside. We'll, of course, keep you informed as to what that means or does not mean. We'll take a break and be back on The Steve Gruber Show.
and they, or at least
from the heart of
soon enough,
America,
they
where
will.
hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome back to it. Another hour here on the program, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Let me just take a moment here. Pete Hegseth has stepped to a microphone and is giving an update on Operation Epic Fury at this hour. And I'd like to dip in and hear what he has to say for a moment or two, if you don't mind. Here is the secretary.
GC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be. Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war. 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today. And now, with complete control of the skies, we will be using 500-pound, 1,000-pound, and 2,000-pound GPS and laser-guided precision gravity bombs, of which we have a nearly unlimited stockpile. We used more exquisite standoff munitions at the start, but no longer need to. Our stockpiles of those, as well as Patriots, remains extremely strong. The enemy can no longer shoot the volume of missiles they once did, not even close. And the chairman will lay out some of those percentages. So our air defenses and that of our allies have plenty of runway. We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to. And as I said yesterday, we set the terms. Now, you may not see much of it because the IRGC shut off the internet to the entirety of the country. They blind their people on purpose, just like they kill their own on purpose. Much was made of the volume of missiles Iran was able to shoot in the first few days. And sadly, as we projected, a few got through and killed 6 of our best, who will hopefully arrive home soon. We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call those plays. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Senior generals, mid-level officers, enlisted ranks, they can't talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated and sustained offensive. That's not great for morale. The Iranian Air Force is no more, built for 1996, destroyed in 2026. The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective. In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. Sure, Iran will still be able to shoot some missiles, and still be able to launch one-way attack drones at civilian targets, and their proxies will attempt to attack our embassies, bases, and soft targets. They are terrorists, after all, and they need to target civilians because they can't fight toe-to-toe. But we will find them, and we will kill them.
All right, there you have it. It's Secretary of War Pete Hegseth giving an update. He says the military power being launched on Iran is ramping up, not leveling off. Talked about sinking a ship in the Indian Ocean. Thought it was safe in international waters. Wrong. For the first time since World War II, the United States has sunk an enemy combatant ship, an Iranian Navy ship. They have no Navy left. They have no Air Force left. And according to the Secretary, they really have no plan. And in the words of Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So true. This is the state of the situation in Iran right now. A couple of other quick headlines for you before we take a breather to detox, if you will. John Cornyn and Ken Paxton will be heading to a runoff in the Texas Senate GOP primary. It's interesting. Every single poll that I looked at showed Ken Paxton winning significantly. But yesterday, when the votes came in, John Cornyn got more votes than Ken Paxton, a significant amount of more votes than Ken Paxton. We'll see how that plays out. And meanwhile, while we're running the war in Iran, in Ecuador, Southcom, the United States military ran an operation yesterday destroying drug cartel resources and assets. We're operating all over the globe to eradicate those that threaten America. Happened in Ecuador yesterday. It's a headline you need to be aware of. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a break from all of this. We're going to talk to Ron Rademacher about fun stuff. All right, we're going to just take a little breather, a little cleansing, if you don't mind. All right? This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, it's time to take a break from all the heavy lifting for a moment and just enjoy ourselves for a second. Ron Rademacher is here, travel writer, author, adventurer, and a guy who loves burgers and cold beer. Ron, I think that it's an admirable couple of traits to have. Welcome back.
Everybody has something that can be admired about their personality, even me. Yeah.
A hot burger and a cold beer. I mean, it's hard to beat, especially some of the places you go, Ron.
Yeah, it is hard to beat. Hey, by the way, a quick shout out, if I may, to Brad over at Wild Spirits Outdoors. He had me on his podcast, which is now on MichiganBackroads.com. We spent a couple of hours talking about out-of-the-way places in Michigan. And he was the first to point out to me that in Newaygo, right now, they're starting to tap the maple trees, Steve.
Really?
Yeah.
Newaygo, that's a great place to go to target steelhead, just for those keeping score.
Yeah, and they just had the Dam to Dam ice fishing tournament a couple of weeks ago. Yes, that is a great place for any outdoor activities. But yeah, they're starting to tap the maple trees over there. So, and of course, don't forget, Spring Forward.
Is that this weekend?
It's this coming weekend.
It's the early. I think it's the earliest legal time they can do it. We need to get rid of that nonsense, Ron. Stop playing with the clocks. Just whatever time it is, you got to do what you got to do. Stop playing with the clocks. That's my feeling. Yours?
It's one of those things I don't understand why we can't agree. If it could be done in a moment's time. I mean, if President Trump would come out and say that he is all for keeping the daylight savings time system in place, the Democrats would get rid of it tomorrow. I mean, all you got to do is say he's for it, and
they're against it. Yeah. Strange, the political divide in America. I'm old enough to remember, Ron, I know you're not political, and I won't ask you to weigh in on this, but I'm old enough to remember when Democrats were still Americans. So there is that.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange time to be alive and watching. But there are a lot of I will say this: there are a lot of Democrats that are still Americans, but there is a fringe that has gotten a hold of the microphone and and gotten a hold of a good portion of the media, and that's the story that you hear. They squeak the loudest, and that's the ones we hear. So, but
I think they got their hands on a good portion of liquor before they got to the microphone. But hey, that's just me.
One or two. Speaking of which, there's the Bourbon Fest coming up in Grand Rapids.
Bourbon Fest. I can't partake, but I wish I could.
Yeah, I cannot either, but that's another sign of spring. The Maple Sugar Festival's in Kalamazoo this weekend.
All right.
Traverse City at Port Oneida Farms is having maple sugaring days. So, and Tipton at Hidden Lake Gardens, this is their spring flower show begins this weekend.
Hold on, because I have certain weaknesses, and one of my weaknesses, and I don't know why, that I adore maple anything, pretty much. Maple bacon's marginal, but maple donuts, maple syrup, I just love it, Ron. It's just one of those things. I just absolutely adore it. I'll give a tip of the hat to the Canadians because they've done it pretty well, but Michigan, we do it pretty well as well.
Yeah, they do, and we do it pretty well. And the maple donuts are coming. Yeah, so every week now we'll be talking about what the maple syrup event is that's coming up. But these are the first ones of the year, so spring is definitely here.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Love that. Go on.
So that's on the RV shows going on in Detroit, but there is still winter here, even though it's supposed to be around 50 tomorrow.
Wow.
But Calumet, they're having their great Bear Chase Ski Marathon. Now, that one's out at the Swedetown Trails. If you've ever been out there, it's going to be a bear chase. And they've got 3 different distances. One of the longest ones, Steve, which would be perfect for you, is the 50K.
Which motor vehicle do I get, Ron? That's why we have the internal combustion engine. Right there it is.
They have hydration stations every half K for the guys on that one. And if you haven't done your polar plunge yet, Steve, Mount Brighton's having their slush cup this weekend, so you can slide down the hill on your skis, launch into a little swimming pool full of slush. I mean, it's just perfect for you.
Yeah, outstanding. And I'm surprised, Ron. because I thought you would be up at Frederick March 7th and 8th, with all your gear on to do the outdoor winter triathlon. I thought this would be, something you'd be telling us about. You're pumping iron, you're ready to go.
I was going to bring it up at the end because I don't want to just talk about what I'm going to be doing. I just like to talk about what you should be doing. So yeah, that.
You mentioned that it's still winter up north, and it is. And in fact, my last journey north, I came as close as I've come in a number of years to planting the Suburban in the ditch on I-75 because we had just a tremendous snowstorm around Grayling. We're driving, and next thing I know, I'm turning the wheel, and nothing's happening. Yeah, I'm like, well, that's not good. I really thought. I mean, I had one of those heart skip moments. Yeah, be careful, folks. It's still winter.
Yeah, the black ice is still out there, and it does get cold at night. So, it can look very clear and dry, and you can hit a patch. And by the way, if I was going to do one this weekend, it would probably be suds and snow up at Timber Ridge.
Again, back to the beer.
Back to the beer. Craft beverages, baby.
Snow. Yeah, all right.
And
well,
food trucks.
I like that. That's Traverse City, and we're trying to get those fire inspections eliminated for these food trucks. So every time they go to a new town, they don't have to spend $250 for another fire inspection. We were talking about that on the program yesterday. If you'd like to be featured here, if you got a great place in Michigan, which is a fabulous state, go to MichiganBackroads.com. Let Ron Rademacher know, and you can be featured right here on the program. Ron, as always, it's a pleasure.
Next time you're driving up the road, if you have time, listen to that Wild Spirits Outdoors podcast. We had a good time. It's on video. It's on YouTube, so you can watch it on your monitor as well.
Wild Spirits
Outdoors.
Like bourbon. Wild. Anyhow, Ron Rademacher, MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com, MichiganBackroads.com. Ron, thank you. See you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. That's my deep cleansing breath for this day. So many serious things to talk about. Nice to take a break once in a while. I'll be right back. Alex Acosta, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, 20 years ago, who gave Jeffrey Epstein a non-prosecution deal, even though they had identified 30 victims, underage victims at that time. New information seems to indicate that Acosta had been compromised. And he wasn't the only one. Epstein's web of influence and money and power extended into a lot of different places. Acosta should be prosecuted, in my estimation, from what I've read and understand, because what happened when that non-prosecution occurred, I think it was 2007, it allowed Epstein to continue on his reign of terror against young women for another decade. Kash Patel calls it the original sin in the Epstein case. It shocked outside observers. It shocked Democrats and Republicans alike. Acosta, not a good guy. And then a whole bunch of his data disappeared. How remarkably convenient. The data from his computer disappeared for a 12-month period between May 2007 and April 2008. How convenient. All the information when Epstein was the focus of an investigation and a faux prosecution, gone. You know, that makes, the missing White House tapes seem pretty mild by comparison. Acosta continues, by the way, to deny he gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal despite cutting the investigation short and granting Epstein a non-prosecution agreement, even though they had 30 victims identified. Of course he cut a sweetheart deal. It's probably beyond the statute of limitations, but this guy should never work in the law again. He should be ostracized from the legal community. At a minimum, go work the midnight shift at 7-Eleven. Go do something with your life besides taking sweetheart deals for child traffickers. All right. I got that off my chest. Coming up, we're going to talk about Selfridge Air Force Base, Michigan. New runways, new planes, and new everything. Straight ahead. All right, glad to have you along as we continue the conversation midweek, right? Glad to have you here. My next guest is State Representative Ron Robinson. He represents the 58th District of Michigan. Ron, welcome to the program.
Brock's calling him. He's not there yet.
All right, I didn't realize that. It's okay, we had a little technical issue. He'll be on the phone here momentarily. But the point of the story here is that they have secured $152 million of state investment for Selfridge Air Force Base, which is really important. We just got new F-35s, I believe, coming into that Air Force Base. It's in Michigan, of course. Excuse me, there are F-15EX fighter jets. They are the top of the food chain. President Trump announced the base at Selfridge had been selected for a new fighter jet mission, replacing the aging A-10 Thunderbolt, the Warthogs. One of my favorites, by the way. Mr. Robinson, welcome to the program.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. And this is a big deal. $152 million, new runways, new jets, new life for Selfridge. Tell us about how important you think this is.
Oh, this is going to be a major boom to not just Macomb County, but the entire state, Steve. I couldn't be more excited about this. Obviously, it's confusing to a lot of people because it was announced that these fighter jets were going to be coming to Selfridge last year, but they're like, well, what's going on here? Well, there's, as you know, or may or not know, there's been talks of trying to get this done before President Trump leaves office. And so that's why this is needed to get these runways done. So we can have these fighter missions, these F-15s come to Selfridge. And to your point, Steve, this is going to be a huge boom to the economy.
$850 million is the estimate of annual. That's not a one-off.
Yeah.
$850 million annually to this area. More jobs, more money coming in, more infrastructure. It's good across the board, isn't it?
Of course, and it's going to have effects across the entire state, not just the Southeast Michigan. That's what's so exciting about it. The whole state is going to benefit from this fighter mission coming to Selfridge. Very exciting.
One of the things that I found unusual about this is it's one of the rare times, maybe one of the only times, that Governor Whitmer has openly thanked President Trump for anything.
Yes.
She didn't hide her face behind a folder for this one. She was right out front, wasn't she?
No, and exactly. This is again this is not a partisan issue. This is something that's going to affect the entire state. And I'm trying to coin a phrase, Steve. I'm trying to get Selfridge to be known as the Miramar of the Midwest. So hopefully you can help me with that.
We're working on it. We'll do that. All right. So when is this underway now? I obviously I'm not at the air base, so I don't know when this is happening or have the jets arrived yet? Are they still coming? What's the plan here? Give us a timetable. Lay it out for us.
Okay, well, pretty much, again, these fighter missions were announced last year that Selfridge was getting them, but over the last year there's been, kind of a buzz that, there's generals in the Air Force that may not want this to come to Michigan. So what we've done with this $152 million appropriation is ensured that these runways will be built this year, so that these runways are ready for these F-15s. We're just trying to expedite the process to ensure that this happens before President Trump leaves office, because there are those who think that if this doesn't happen before he leaves office, it may not happen. But as far as the timeline, it passed the House yesterday. It'll go to the Senate, and if it goes, obviously the governor's been working on this, so I wouldn't imagine a hiccup on her signature if it gets past the Senate. But once that's done, they can start construction on those two runways at Selfridge this summer, and next year, hopefully that's when these F-15s start moving into Selfridge.
Why would you made the comment there that there are people opposed to placing these jets here? Why would that be?
Well, I mean, there's no one in the state of Michigan. It's from what I'm hearing, it's Air Force generals who kind of want to keep it in California and the places where they have been operating these fighter missions. So that's the reason why we need to expedite this money for the runways. So it just takes a box away from them, preventing them from coming to Selfridge. But yeah, again, this is this is something I've heard, but there has been speculation that there's generals in the Air Force that are trying to fight this from happening, which is why at the state level we're doing everything we can to take away those boxes to prevent it from coming here. Because as you mentioned, Governor Whitmer and Speaker Hall, and I always want to mention Anthony Forlini and Candace Miller, because before we got here, there was several times that base was going to close, but people like that kept it open. So there's a lot of credit to go around, but essentially Governor Whitmer and Matt Hall and Senator Nesbitt really worked out this deal, and we're just doing our due diligence to make sure that it does happen and nothing gets gets lost so that we do get these fighter missions in Michigan.
You know, it's been made pretty clear over the last year, first with Midnight Hammer last summer and more recently with our activities in Iran, that American military firepower, when it comes to the Air Force, can be stationed in Missouri or South Dakota, and they can run long missions from here to there. So, you know, anybody opposed to it, it seems to me there's probably members of Congress who see this as a nice plum, and they'd like it in their state and not ours. There's probably some political jockeying going on because it is a big deal, right?
It is a big deal. And, you know, again, coming back to the original question, Steve, this is going to be a huge boom to the entire state of Michigan. There's going to be a lot of businesses that want to be close to this fighter mission, and it's going to generate a lot of new business in the state of Michigan, not just Macomb County, but I think this is going to feather out to the entire state.
Yeah, and again, I have to circle this on my card, and that is, this is bipartisan. We don't get a lot of that these days, Ron. We don't get a lot of bipartisanship around here. So whenever we can get something that people agree on, maybe it's good for everybody. And this is one of those things that I think checks that box for sure. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I just want to add to that point. You know, we can be critical of Governor Whitmer, but the fact that this term, you know, it was much different than President Trump's first term, where she's like, okay, let's work with the president, because if you buck the president, whether it's Republican or Democrat, you know, you got to take care of your state first before politics, and I'm glad to see the governor's done that. But again, this is, I give a lot of credit to Speaker Hall and Senator Nesbitt on pushing this through, working with Trump. I'm just excited about it, and we're going to do everything we can at the state level to ensure this does come to Selfridge.
Well, I hope we get this right. I really appreciate you being here, State Representative Ron Robinson from Utica.
Thank you, sir.
Michigan, sir. Thank you. It is a big deal, and we have proven whether the big jets are flying out of Missouri or South Dakota or wherever they originate from in this Operation Epic Fury or Midnight Hammer before that, you can operate from just about anywhere in the world if you've got the best jets, and these are the F-15EX. This is the latest rendition of this jet, more powerful, more sophisticated than, you know, the predecessors, that's for sure. Anyhow, that's good news. Coming up after the break, we're going to have Ivy here. I don't know what she's got on her Rolodex today to pull up and play for us, but we're going to find out, that's for sure. So good having you here. Make sure you follow us on all those social media platforms. X, Facebook, Instagram is growing rapidly. And don't forget YouTube. And the new episode of Forgotten America, Private Equity. How does it impact you? You may not notice, but it's an important listen. Ivy and I will take you through the conversation with Tiffany Cianci. You know, you'll want to hear that. Forgotten America, you find it on YouTube. Become a subscriber. Smash that like button. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to it. It's the best part of the program every single day. Brings a little joy to my life and yours, too. Here's Ivy. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
How are you today?
I'm excellent.
Man, you've got the spring colors going today, don't you?
Oh, yeah. You know, it's sunny outside. You got to feel joyous and bright and sunny.
Yeah. I saw a couple of bright red cardinals right outside the window yesterday. I thought, man, spring's not too far away. There they are. And the bluebirds are ready to return as well. Cool stuff.
The bluebirds, the cardinals, the blue jays. It's beautiful. I love it.
They all come, yeah.
You know, I have to voice a complaint.
With me?
No, not with you.
Just check.
But just when did the American people, and not everyone, but I think this is probably brought on by social media, but when did the American people think that they know better than the president, like they're more informed because they just spend so much time online that they just know better? One. First complaint. Second complaint is, when did we think that we needed to know every single detail about every single thing about an operation? I mean, I've been hearing the press conferences today, yesterday. The same questions are being asked. It's like, how many times do we need to tell you? First of all, we're not going to tell you completely because we are in a curtain operation. We're not going to tip our enemy off. Duh. You know, one. Two, there's a lot of information that we just simply don't know because, first of all, it's a national security issue and security for our people that are out there fighting right now.
That's right. You know, I've talked about this in the past, and it kind of plays into exactly what you're saying, and that is, what if there had been live CNN coverage on the
beaches of Normandy?
Absolutely, on the beaches of Normandy, or anywhere else for that matter, you know, in the Battle of the Bulge, or anywhere. Oh, we need to know all the details of what you're doing, Mr. Roosevelt. What? Mr. Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, tell us exactly what you're doing. General MacArthur, General Patton, tell us exactly what you're doing. What about the people, the innocent victims? I mean, stop it.
Right.
But you're right.
Just take a deep breath, people.
These
crack
people,
a smile.
the social media gadflies.
Yeah.
Think they deserve to know every detail of everything. Well, it doesn't matter whether it's the Epstein investigation,
they
whatever
come
it
to
is.
their own conclusions based on who knows what.
Well, and we saw this last year in September.
Oh, yes.
With Charlie Kirk's murder.
Oh, yeah. You know, everyone was slowing down the video, and everyone was a bullet expert, you know, a munitions expert.
Ballistics expert.
Ballistics, thank you.
They had no idea what they were talking about. I saw so much garbage floating around. People are retweeting, oh, here it is. Look at the guy behind Charlie. He's the one that... Stop it.
Yeah. So aggravating. But anyhow, I do want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and I've talked about a lot in terms of the human trafficking and children and the sexual abuse material that is online.
Everywhere.
It's really hard for me to actually get through this topic because it's so inconceivable. But the Renewed Hope Act is out there. It is brought on by Tim Tebow, and he was just in Congress for a Senate hearing. And I want you to play a little bit of this first by Anthony. Go ahead.
Let's have a look here at what just the Interpol images show, what we're looking at in terms of content of unidentified exploited children by the numbers. 84% of the images were of actual sexual abuse, not simulated, but actual. 47% of the NCMEC images contained extreme abuse, including actual rape. 60% of unidentified victims are under 12. 60%. 65% of unidentified victims are girls. And almost 5% of the images were infants. These are
okay. You can come back to us.
Good Lord!
It's a really long bite, and that's Senator Josh Hawley there.
60% under the age of 12.
Yes. And Tim Tebow displays a map during this hearing, and there are 338,000 red dots on that map, and that displays unique IP addresses that have traded, distributed, and shared child sexual abuse material. All of these were children under 12. So what the...
Happening today.
There are currently 55,000 U.S. children who were victims of sextortion. And so what this Renewed Hope Act does is it gives the ability to have 200 new specialists, computer forensic experts, and criminal analysts to focus on victim identification. Where are they? Who are they? Because a lot of these victims, people don't even know who they are.
They're anonymous. Yeah.
It helps new teams would work with Homeland Security investigations and collaborate with cybercrime centers. It would improve in coordination across all agencies. And the goal is to identify huge volumes of this online material that's going around, find the children, save the children, and prosecute these criminals that are just, I mean, the most evil of evil, if you can even imagine.
338,000 red dots. You know, I saw a comment from Tim Tebow from that hearing. He said, God didn't give me strength to carry a football. He gave me a strength to save these children.
Yeah. I want you to actually hear from him here. Anthony, play that second bite.
Thin line between tortured and treasured. And you are that thin line. And all of you are that thin line. Every day we wait, they're suffering, they're crying. And I believe right now, many of them are praying that we would respond. But how are we really going to respond? Will we actually accept the responsibility of caring for these boys and girls and truly protecting them? Or are we just going to continue to talk about it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Good
Very
man.
fine line between tortured and treasured. So listen, all of you out there listening, call your representatives, call your senators, say, hey, let's get this act passed. It's a bipartisan issue. Get active out there. You know, I think we forget in our little bubbles that life is good, but it's not good for everyone. So
Save these children. Good, good stuff, Ivy. It's powerful. Love you.
love you.
And with that, we'll head to the end of the program. It's powerful stuff. Tim Tebow doing really important things out there. Join him. Make sure this gets passed. I'll be right back. We played it at the top of this hour. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth declaring that America is winning decisively right now, 4 days into this conflict, epic fury with the nation of Iran. All of the other Arab countries in the region have now joined with the United States, including Turkey, by the way, who was able to shoot down at least one Iranian ballistic missile targeting their country here just a short while ago. It seems that Iran is on its heels. Hegseth says more fighters and bombers are arriving daily to the Middle East, adding that the U.S. and Israel will soon achieve complete control over Iranian airspace. Iran's missile capabilities have been drastically diminished in 4 days of fighting, but that is the ongoing effort. The question is, who steps into the void? There's some word that the Ayatollah's son, the late supreme leader killed by Israel on day one of this attack, that his son, Khamenei's son, will be the new supreme leader in Iran. Nobody knows for sure, and we'll see where this goes. A lot of activity inside the country, but because of the blackouts by the IRGC, they black out all internet service there. So we don't have a lot of details from what's happening on the ground with the NCRI, MEK, if you will, which is one of the resistance groups inside the country. They've had some success going after the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. But again, because of the limit of information, we don't know for sure what's happening there. But Israel continues to pound Iranian security targets. America continues to pound missile targets. We sank an Iranian Navy ship in the Indian Ocean yesterday. First time since World War II, the United States has sunk an enemy vessel with a torpedo. First time since World War II. First time we've sunk an enemy ship with a torpedo since World War II. We'll keep an eye on it. 6 soldiers confirmed killed on the American side thus far. There is a price to pay, and it's a high one. God bless America. Keep the faith. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.